Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keeping It Real with America's Supermom. I am excited to have Tabitha with me today. We have not connected it's been such a long time. We met during the pandemic and we were able to really communicate on a weekly basis because we traveled in the same circle, so to speak. But, things are opening up, things are kind of going back to some kind of normalcy. And so duty calls, but we're here to catch up and find out a little bit more about what's going on with Tabitha. But before we get into that, I want to give her the opportunity to introduce herself.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for having me, Lachelle. My name is Tabitha Barron, and I am the owner of Keeping Your Kids Safe. So I've spent about 20 years in engineering. And although it was a fun ride, it was time to get off that boat. So I've spent a lot of time as a child advocate for my children and others. And I have 2 children that are young adults. And so they're no longer children. They're just your children type of a thing. But other than that, I like what I do. And I like the reason why I'm doing it.
Awesome. And so we're going to get into that during the interview. And, it really is something along the lines of making sure that we're keeping up with our kids, right?
Yes.
Because, we have so many different things that we're juggling. And it's so appropriate that on a day like today, something like non-matching earrings would occur.
I'm telling you, it's a
fashion statement. Before we are doing this interview, and they're red, white, and blue, but they're not the same earrings. So this kind of set us up for our topic today.
I tell you what, nobody noticed it but you. And I'm telling you, they create sets that do not match.
They do.
And I haven't worn a matching pair of socks in years now, so you're good.
I know. It's that, and it's so funny because back in the day, it would be like, non-matching socks, people would be teasing you and all this. And now it's like the end thing. My kids are like, Mom, I have on socks. I'm like, but one of them's short and one of them's long. Okay, it's any kind of mismatch. And they are out the door. I'm thinking, what is going on here?
Man, no, that I can't claim. I can't claim that one. I normally have 2 short socks. It can't be one long.
Mine will do anything crazy. Okay, I'm telling you, they push the envelope. But anyway,
go ahead, do it. Do it, little people, do it.
Well, right now it really anything goes. Okay, because we're not going anywhere. And they're outside. We live like it's kind of somewhat rural where we are. Okay. So nobody is coming to visit without calling. We don't have any street lights over here. So they're outside free for all. Okay. But anyway,
that's hilarious.
When I can get them to go outside because, they want to stay on the electronic stuff. But I digress. We're back here for the conversation, right?
Come on.
Yeah, talk to us about, why you started the company that you started and, what your passion is with it.
This is funny. So not funny. My situation was that my niece at 5 years old got put on the wrong school bus twice in her same kindergarten year. The problem with that was that my mom was waiting at the corner of where her bus stop is 5 miles away from where they dropped her off at. So I was like, I was frustrated beyond belief because the first time I didn't even know about it. But the second time I was actually part of it. I was on the phone with my mom. My issue was that the more I looked into it, the more I found out it was happening so often. And now people are going to jail for it. And now people are being the judges are awarding the families money. So the highest number that I've found was $23.5 million for a case, loss of life. 19-year-old nonverbal autistic young man lost his life in California because they left him on a school bus alone and he died. Now, my issue with that is that there are so many things that we can do that is preventable and we can be so proactive. But in so many cases, and especially I find it more so right now is because the space I'm in is that people are reactionary. They react to a circumstance that they can possibly put proactive measures in place, and then they can possibly kind of avoid such a drastic black eye, but they're just not
Mhm.
willing.
Wow. Now, so my first question is, how long ago was this? Because some of the people watching are like, now that can't have happened anytime recent. How long ago did something like that happen?
Okay, so this is the I can't believe this is real. Okay,
Hmm.
so our situation happened 6 years ago, right?
Okay.
That's why
Hmm.
the company started 6 years ago, right?
Hmm.
But all the people that I've met along the way, I've met people who were 50 and they have told me their experience and
Hmm.
how it has happened to them. I've met
Hmm.
people that were older who have said this has been an ongoing issue for some time.
Wow.
Met people recently who have had this accident happen, and then it hits the news. And so I always like to tell people, for every one incident you see on TV, there's about three other ones that have not been reported.
Mm.
So what
Mm.
happens, and so I've met people who it just happened to.
Wow.
And so it happens every single day. What they try to convince you is that it doesn't happen. They have everything under control. But this is
Hmm.
how I look at it. I have two children.
Hmm.
I have two children by choice because I was like, I only have two hands, two eyes, 2 feet, two everything. Might as well just have two children. So that was my thing. I was like, just two, one on each side. Principals have 900. They have upwards of
Hmm.
500 children. They are above that every
Hmm.
single day to dismiss. So think
Hmm.
about that. If you had 900 children and you had to remember where every single one of the stragglers that we
Hmm.
like to call them, where they're
Hmm.
going, tell me you would be able to figure that out on your own without additional assistance. You would
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
We
That's
walk into
crazy.
the store counting 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. We got everybody.
Right.
Three. Okay, we
Well,
good.
in field trips and things like that, because and for us with our children, we take them to school in the daytime. I mean, in the morning, and they ride the bus home at night. So we've had situations where they've they've passed their bus stop. So they had to come back around, drop them off, or, they had a shortage of bus drivers. So they had to put two bus loads together. So then the kids would get home later. I mean, all kinds of things.
Yeah. And the one lady, actually during the pandemic, now this is the one you want to know about. So the one during the pandemic, the schools right before they closed down the rodeo here in Texas,
Hmm.
um, they were taking the students to the rodeo as a field trip. Well, one
Hmm.
of the school districts forgot a kid. But the way that the mother found out was because, oops, one of the other parents said, "Oh, you're the mom of the kid they left at the rodeo." That's how she found out, and it hit the news.
Wow.
So our product, I just want to say that not everybody is going to try to hide it from you, but for the
Right.
most part, they are trying to hide it from you. It's not out of malice; it's out of self-preservation. And
Mm.
my concern is that without community coming together and huddling to make an improvement, we're always going
Mhm.
to continue to run into these type of problems. And you have to be willing to at least admit that there's a small part of it that there's an opportunity for improvement. Now that
Mm.
mom got her kid back, that there's other parents who don't get their kids back. And that's where I'm trying to solve it. First of all, you shouldn't have that. You shouldn't have to take a round trip just to pick up one kid. You know,
Right.
you shouldn't. And
Mhm.
if my program allows you to know who's on the bus and who's missing at the point in which they become a missing person, then that is what
Mm.
we're here to do. And I have to say, honestly, it happens every single day, even in the schools that I am enrolled in. The difference is that the software tells them and they correct their problem right away.
Wow.
Hmm.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I think I love the fact that you took this proactive approach, because so oftentimes, I just in my own journey of battling with depression, of recognizing that there were lessons that I learned and taking action on what you learn, So in my case, it was not having boundaries. So then I had to put boundaries up and understanding. And so often we just kind of keep on perpetuating, like you said, people a long time ago have been aware that this kind of stuff has happened, but nobody does anything about it.
Mhm.
It's like, we talk about it after the fact, but you don't take any preventative measures with the information that you find out. And that just is a problem, not just with this, but anything. That's how we make change, is to recognize, what, this is insane. We're doing the same thing over and over.
This is true. And I think that a lot of times, I was just talking to like a group of moms, and um, they asked me some questions about this. And I said, you would be surprised some of the responses I've gotten from school officials. And if I told people most of the things that have been said to me, they will probably pull their kids out of school.
Wow.
So the problem that I have is that in general, I'm here to support you. As a teacher and as an administrator, they have put out a message that says that they want parents and families to be involved in their child's education. But
Hmm.
what I learned is that when you try to be a part of the process in the education, you're met with so much resistance that it's a deterrent.
Hmm.
So I remember as I was raising my kids, my daughter especially, when they were like, well, we are not getting parent support, we're not getting this, we're not getting that. So I was like, okay, what do you need? I will show up and I will do, and I'm going to be present. And I kept calling and showing up. And she's like,
Hmm.
I don't want this. You can't have it both ways. You
Hmm.
can't. That's not how this works.
Hmm. Hmm.
So my message to all of the principals, future ones that I will work with, is that I'm here to help you. I'm
Hmm.
not here to take your job away. I'm not here to reduce a job. I'm here to make sure that you go home on time and without stress. I'm here to support you because I recognize that there are certain areas of your day that are very, very challenging and you need support. Not
Hmm.
because you're inadequate, not because you're not doing the right things, not because you're not doing a great job. All of
Hmm.
those things are true. You're doing the best you can. You're doing a great job with the position you're in. Everybody needs help with something,
Hmm.
somewhere, somehow, some way. And I just
Hmm.
want to be one of those people that actually help you. And that's all I'm looking for. This is a partnership. You'd be surprised.
Hmm.
I show up, they're like, you hear it again. Yes, because I want you to know this is a face and a person that wants to partner with you, not a company selling you something, throwing it over the fence and walking away. That's not how I do
Hmm.
business.
Hmm. Love that. Yeah. And so, for this being something that is, you're generating just from seeing a need, how did you know what to research? Because many people are kind of like in this space where they recognize that there's a problem, they want to solve it, and there's no formula or something that they're following. It's just basically going by what they feel is necessary that needs to be implemented. So, with that type of thinking, where would somebody go if they are in this position, not necessarily with this school bus situation, but just in general, trying to solve a problem that they see hasn't been solved? What would be their first course of action?
Actually, for me, I would start to ask a lot. I ask a lot of questions. So I did a lot of searching. I asked the bus drivers questions. I asked
Hmm.
principals questions. I started asking people, "Did you have this problem? Is this a problem that you see
Hmm.
regularly? Is this something that you feel as though could add? If we helped you with this, would this add take some of the pressure off?" So
Mm.
many people came and said, so many people who showed up, they said to me that this is a problem. They dread dismissal, especially for elementary schools. So it,
Mhm.
it became more of, I get it. There's definitely something here. Then it became,
Mhm.
let's look for what's already out there. Let's look for
Mhm.
what's working. When I was looking, there wasn't very much out there. Maybe I was using the wrong words or anything like that. But when some of the competitors showed up, now we have to differentiate ourselves from the others, right?
Mm.
And that's the
Okay.
thing is that at some given point in time, you'll do the research and you'll find it's definitely a problem that not only you are solving for yourself, but you're going to solve for other people. And
Mhm.
then how much are they willing to pay for it? And then what's going to make you different from all the other things that are out here? Because we all have a competitor. And our
Mhm.
competitor can be just as simple as a cell phone or status quo. Everybody walking around saying, I don't have a competitor. I'm the first to market. No, there's something that's in its place right now. It's
Mhm.
not, you have to be able to figure out how are you different from what is current, how are people currently overcoming this challenge
Mhm.
today? And then how
Mhm.
will what you come up with and create will make that better for them at
Mhm.
that time later.
Mhm.
And that's all.
Mhm.
So that's exactly what I did.
Mhm. I love that. So, what advice would you give the parents? Let's say, they have these situations where the schools don't have that software. What are some tips? And, sometimes we wouldn't even think to train our kids on, knowing where they live or, stuff like this because, we're so robotic about this is the bus you get on, this is where your stop is, so what type of things should we be telling our kids to kind of have them equipped in the event something like this happens?
I like to definitely encourage parents to do. I never encourage parents to give a K through 5 a phone, but one of the things I do encourage parents to do is put your contact information on their person and in their
Mhm.
book bag. So that
Mhm.
in the event that anybody stumbles across them, finds them, and is a good Samaritan and wants to return your student, you want
Mhm.
to, at least they know where to go. At least they know who to
Mhm.
call. One of
Mhm.
the things about our tags is that it will tell you at least where their starting point is. So
Mhm.
if you find a student on the street and you know they're not supposed to be there, what you will end up doing is you look at their backpack and our cards will tell you what school they go to. With
Mhm.
that school by itself, you can always contact the district or the school, and you can then return that, say, "Hey, I found this student, and I don't know where they belong." So that's how they get back. But my always recommendation is to go ahead and put some type of contact information on
That's a
something
good
that
idea.
they have, so that in the event that they get lost, they can just give it to the person and say, "Just contact this person, and they'll come and get me," or whatever. But you want to do things like that. The other thing is that, and this is especially important, adults don't listen to people they don't respect. And until
Mhm.
children gets to a certain age, adults don't respect children.
Mhm.
The reason why I say that is because when a child tells you they're hurt, when a child tells you they're in trouble, when a child tells you they are on the wrong bus, we've got to
Mhm.
be willing to listen. Because
Mhm.
even though it may not be what you want to hear at the time, it is something that has to be communicated to you. So my second recommendation is to at least hear the child out, because
Mhm.
I have witnessed so many times where children had the answer to the question the adult was asking, but will not take their answer.
Mm.
So
That's
there's
good.
point of empowerment that has to happen for the student, for the child to
Mhm.
say, it's okay that you use your voice. It's not necessarily okay that they ignored you, but it is okay that you said what you needed to say, because at least you showed up as we needed you to show up.
Mhm. Mhm. Good
Make
point.
mhm.
Yeah. Because that is a hard thing to admit that, hey, to get the bus driver attention and to speak up to an adult for most kids, that can be kind of overwhelming.
You
So,
ain't never lied about that, because
mhm.
one little boy, he sat and cried because the bus driver refuse to listen to him saying, "I'm scared because I don't believe you're going to take me home." Well, guess what? He
Mhm.
was 100% correct. She was never going to take him home. You know why? Because he
He
was
was
on
home.
the wrong bus. And
Mhm.
instead of them taking a minute, just take a beat and say, is
Mhm.
it possible that what he or she is saying to me is something that's relevant to what I'm going to do next? So what just happened in that situation was that she had at least a 30-minute detour from her
Mhm.
original place in which she was supposed to go. Because
Well,
instead
and
of going back to the garage, she had to go back to the school.
my thing too is, didn't she recognize that that wasn't a child that she normally would pick up? I mean, that's one of the things also. But,
Yeah,
I guess they're not really cognizant of that.
they don't, they're not given enough. They're not, the communication I got back from transportation was that as a driver, they're not given enough concrete information for them to execute and do their job to the best of their ability without having these.
Mm.
So I've been
Mhm.
asked multiple times by the drivers. I mean,
Mhm.
they've pulled me over to open up the doors. They were like, I need you to go into transportation because we need your system and ours. We've been able to the school is able to print out stuff that our own district won't give us from your system.
Mhm.
You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Mhm.
So the point is they're asking for it. It's just the decision makers are not willing to do that. And I think that's where the parents are going to play a very large part in this,
Mhm.
because I told a principal once, you got my kid for 3 years. I got my kid for life. I'm going to need you to not do what you're doing.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because
So
that
true.
little boy that got stuck on the school bus,
Mhm.
for a week, he cried and woke up in the middle of the night panicking because he
Yeah.
was so afraid of what was about to happen to him. And that's on us. That's
Mhm.
on us as adults, because instead of us listening to these children, we
Mhm.
made a decision that we don't respect them enough to give them a stage to talk on. And that's not
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm. So true. Now, so what are some things that you do to kind of get you in the mindset to be a trailblazer? Because this is definitely something that, everybody is not doing this, okay? And it's not a popular position by any means, I'm sure.
It is not. And it's not necessarily fun.
Mhm.
Um, it's just necessary. It's one of those things where you have to do it because it's necessary.
Mhm.
It if I didn't do, one teacher said to me, your software saved me. And I was like, what does that mean exactly? And she said,
Mhm.
I was having a problem with one of the students and I told him to stay still. And for the first time that day, he did. And
Mhm.
when he stood still, I went and I scanned all of the students onto their bus. But when I looked at the roster, I noticed there was a student missing and I knew the name. So I was like, why isn't he here? I never
Mhm.
touched him. And it dawned on her that she was about to send the bus off, which would have left a student there, right?
Mm.
So and that would have been a whole entire mess about it. And this was actually a primary school, which makes it K-2. And
Mm.
they lose the little ones. And for that
Mhm.
reason, she was able to everybody went home on time that day because the
Mm.
software was able to identify that they were clear to go and that or they were not clear to go and that they had a student missing, and then they needed to resolve that before they released that bus.
Awesome. That's amazing. So now what do you do in your daily routine to kind of keep you sharp and, also just bold and, assertive and, like you said, it's no fun, but just focused and clear and driven.
My thing is that I wake up every day with the understanding that today I'm going to make sure that everything is in place for each child to make it home every single day.
Mm.
So when I think about being a trailblazer or setting the tone or raising the bar, I think about the fact that what I do today um, has an impact on a student for
Mhm.
their tomorrow. So somebody cared enough to create something specifically for them in
Mhm.
order to give them a voice that we as adults cannot ignore. So
Mhm.
when I look at this situation, I'm like, okay, because there are days that, oh, there's absolutely days I want to quit. I'm like,
Mhm.
people are so mean. People are so nasty.
Mhm.
But the parents that approach me make it better because they're like,
Mhm.
thank you for this because I now know when my walker's making it coming home. I now can look
Mhm.
for it because I take care of the walkers and the bikers, the car riders, the yellow
Mhm.
bus riders, and the childcare bus riders, period.
Mhm.
100% of the school population. And the parents say, thank you very much for doing this because before I would worry and now my worry is a little bit less.
That's
That's why
awesome.
I do it. That's what I do. And I go when I'm struggling, I go out and talk to somebody who is like, no, this is really good. This is important.
Mhm.
When I think that, okay, maybe I've run my course, something else shows up that says, no, you're still on you look was it Siri or the maps? You are on the fastest possible route. Right?
I love that. Yeah.
So I have that. And so
Mhm.
that's what keeps me moving in the direction that allows me to continue to save a life every
Mhm,
single day, because that's what's
mhm,
happening. It's saving a job, it's saving time,
mhm.
and it's saving a life, period.
Mhm. Love that. And, I think we all need to kind of have that passion and, resiliency, because there are going to be days when it isn't going to be fun. And, it's a matter of knowing what you're showing up for that's important and really getting to that why. So, great, great, great thing that you're doing. And so, what is the best way for people who are watching to get a hold of you to see how they might be able to access this software in their school district and things of that nature?
Okay. So great questions today for sure.
Mhm,
My website is kyksfirst.com. So that's
mhm,
kicksfirst.com.
mhm,
That's how you
mhm.
pronounce the software. And if you want to call us, it's 832-405-8036. And we'll be able to, if we don't catch the phone, we'll be able to get back to you. Just leave a message. And then we also have email, info@kyksfirst.com. And then we will reach out to you at that point. So all of those are avenues. And you can always like us on Facebook and Instagram and
Mhm.
LinkedIn.
Awesome. And you have an event coming up, right?
February 11th, we have
Mhm,
an event where parents, teachers, administrators, and transportation leaders, anybody can come and visit us at 9:10 a.m. Did I make it for Central Standard Time? So that's going to be 10:10 Eastern Time. And it's for 30 minutes so that we can kind of demo and find out what keeps people up at night, especially when it comes to educating the children. And it's called Cracking the Code of School Dismissal.
love that. All right. So what final words do you want to share with everybody?
I believe that everybody has a superpower for sure. I used to tell
Mhm,
my son that your superpower is what they call your disability, but it's not. It's actually
mhm,
what makes you very unique in you.
mhm,
Problems that we are solving today for ourselves are the problems that will show up later on for others. Just remember that the blueprint for your journey is not going to look the same as mine. And to make sure that you get a mentor and move through your journey the best way you know how until you learn how to do it better. But
mhm.
don't let people deter you from what they think your vision is. You gotta follow your own.
Love that. Great advice. Great advice. So, we just want to thank you, Tabitha, for coming and shedding light on such an important topic. So often, a lot of these stories and issues get swept under the rug when it comes to our youth. So, we are so happy that you are doing this great thing to raise awareness because it's important. A lot of people are willing to help, but then they just don't know where they can help. So this
Right.
is great insight for them to do that. So we want to thank everybody for watching. Encourage you to reach out to Tabitha and do your own research. Check around in your own district. Find out that this really is a problem, not just in Texas, but it's all over the world. And so there are things that we can do to support the system to make sure that our kids are safe. So we want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you have a question or comment, feel free to put it in the chat below, and we will be sure to get those questions answered for you. In the meantime, have a wonderful day, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye.